I have to say it went very smooth, and but naturally everybody who was involved, thought that it's a film that needs a story that needs to be told, also from the Japanese side.
Are there any judges in the audience? Curiosity? And then the girl actually basically she escapes from the raping. But the child rapper actually raping is very rampant during the national massacre. And it also, from this it leads up to another part of the sex play. So is there any particular reason why you don't insist the rape scene,
Yeah. So the question is about the raping or the mass rape scenario that has happened in Nanjing, and why there is not more, or what's the reason that there is not more of that in the film. Well, there is this rape scene which sort of resembles or symbolizes this aspect, but we really had the problem how much violence and how much suffering and how much cruelty can you put in one film without just overloading it and making a film that finally nobody wants to see because it's too much. And I don't know. We always try to find the balance, and and furthermore, raping, in terms of what you can show in a film in China, especially, that is also a difficult subject because finally you need a permission, and the script has to go through the censorship. So they have been very sensible about this subject. So I think there was not more possible. For one, for the balance within the film, and also for, what it would have been possible to shoot in China. The question is how much is fictionalized. Well, the main characters are all real characters. I mean, Rabe, naturally, his wife, Dr. Wilson, Georg Rosen, the school headmaster. She is inspired by a real character because there's a personality right thing, so we couldn't really just use the real character. Then naturally the Japanese soldiers there are, apart from the young officer, all real characters. There are, the Chinese photographer is not a real character, but it could have been a real character easily, and there was a small camera in the Jingling Girls College, which we found out, and there were pictures, so we thought there could have been a student who took those pictures, so that's how this character came up. In terms of events, I think all the major events that are shown in the film are truthful. We just sometimes put two events together or move them in terms of on the timeline to create more drama or more climax. I'll give you an example about the ship that is bombed and goes down. This ship existed. It was the Panay. It was the last ship to leave Nanjing, and the Japanese had guaranteed not to bomb the ship, and they still did. Saying that it was a misunderstanding or a mistake. But Dora was actually not on that ship, but she was in a train which was also bombed. So Rabe, knew that she was going with the train which was bombed and thought that she died in the train bombing. And we thought, why not put her on the ship? So now, I mean, that is historically not completely accurate, but I think within the freedom of storytelling. And even very small details, whether it's the bird or his driver or the cake that she sends and he gets, and from the cake understand that she's still alive. That's all real. Also, the beheading contest is a real thing. And when we had the film finished, we gave it to somebody who is the head of the China studies in Harvard University, and is considered one of the major experts on the subject of the Nanjing massacre, and had him write sort of an expertise on the film. And he sort of came up with the same conclusion, saying, yes, not everything is on the right date and stuff, but in terms of what image you get from the film is pretty much the image of what happened in Nanjing at that time.
One more question. Where did you might have said this, where did you film the movie? And also, what is your passion behind making this movie?
We filmed the film entirely in China, 80% in Shanghai, maybe 20% in Nanjing, which the reason for is very simple, that Nanjing was destroyed, vastly destroyed within this conflict, and whatever was left from that time was then destroyed in the Cultural Revolution, so that there are practically no historical locations in Nanjing left, apart from the big city wall, which we shot in Nanjing. And in Shanghai, even though it's a very modern and really changing city, there are still, because it's so big, still corners where you can find the old houses and stuff. So I would say 80% of the film is shot on location, a very small part is shot in the studio. And what's my passion in making that film? Well, I thought what's interesting is to tell a chapter of history through through the characters, through the life of those people at that time. So to combine, personal life with, a bigger scene of history that I thought was interesting, especially of a history that I really didn't know much about, and in Germany people don't know much or didn't know much about, and and also that it's a chapter in history in which German history, Chinese history, and Japanese history meet in a very strange way. And somehow it's almost absurd from nowadays point of view that a swastika flag can be used in order to shield Chinese civilians from Japanese aggressors. So it's a quite interesting story in which there are many facades which you don't normally see. So that's.
I have a question. Is there any possibility this film will show in Japan?
Well, as I said before, there was a Japanese distributor who wanted to pick up the film, but then under the condition for us to cut out Princess Saka, which we can't do. We are still trying to sell the film in Japan, but I think a younger generation in Japan would be, very open towards the film, but unfortunately, it seems like the decision makers in the media corporations are just, scared to show that film. Yeah. And so far, nobody really, thought it would be possible. But I think the film, in a way, is only complete once it also has been shown in Japan. So we keep trying. Yeah.
What about in China? Has it been shown in China?
Yes, the film has been released in China in April this year. It was for a German film, a huge release with 800 or 750 prints, something around that. So it was very big, and it was a amazing experience to show the film in China and to really get a very intense reaction from people. And we were there with John Rabe's grandson, Thomas Rabe, and we also brought the original diaries of Rabe, and which really created a very strong emotional impact on the public, especially the diaries. So a lot of people came and touched the diaries and really found, I think, a part of their history and identity within this diaries. Oh yeah, he was completely unknown in Germany, so of course he was more known in China. Yeah, that's obvious.